You have 3 minutes to live without air, 3 days without water, but how long can you survive without a single wink of sleep? If you decide to push your brain to the absolute brink for 30 days, you won't just be tired, you will be walking through the doors of a biological catastrophe. It begins in the first 24 hours. After just 1 day without sleep, your brain's cognitive function drops to the level of someone with a blood alcohol concentration of 0.10%. That is legally drunk in every state in the United States. Your reaction times plummet. Your fine motor skills become jagged. You are essentially operating a vehicle while intoxicated, except the alcohol is just your own exhaustion. By hour 36, your body chemistry begins to warp. Your blood pressure spikes. Your levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone, skyrocket. Your brain is trying to compensate for the lack of rest by flooding your system with adrenaline to keep you upright. You feel jittery. You feel anxious. You might even experience a strange, cold sensation in your limbs as your body struggles to regulate its own temperature. As you cross the 48-hour mark, you enter the territory of microsleeps. These are brief, involuntary lapses into unconsciousness that last anywhere from half a second to 15 seconds. Your brain effectively forces a reboot while your eyes remain open. You might be standing, talking, or typing, and suddenly you are somewhere else entirely. You have no control over this. It is a biological failsafe designed to keep your neurons from misfiring. By the third day, the hallucinations begin. In 1964, a 17-year-old student named Randy Gardner set the world record for the longest time a human has gone without sleep under scientific observation. He lasted 11 days. By day 3, Gardner was struggling to identify objects. He suffered from severe mood swings. He couldn't complete a sentence without forgetting what he was talking about mid-word. His brain was failing to filter information, leading to sensory overload. As you push toward the end of your first week, your immune system begins to shut down. Sleep is not just a time for rest, it is a time for your lymphatic system to flush out neurotoxins. Specifically, the glymphatic system clears out beta amyloid, a protein associated with Alzheimer's disease. Without that deep, restorative slumber, these proteins begin to build up in your brain like sludge. Your neurons can no longer communicate effectively. Your ability to distinguish between reality and fantasy evaporates. By day 10, you are no longer the person who started this experiment. Your heart rate is irregular. Your insulin sensitivity has plummeted, mimicking the metabolic profile of a pre-diabetic. You are trapped in a state of chronic delirium. Paranoia becomes your default setting. You see faces in the patterns on the walls. You hear whispers that aren't there. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic, planning, and impulse control, is effectively offline. If you somehow persist to 20 days, the internal damage is likely permanent. Your body is now in a state of systemic inflammation. Every organ is under extreme duress. The risk of a cardiovascular event, such as a heart attack or stroke, is incredibly high. You have lost the ability to process basic facial expressions, meaning you can no longer empathize with other humans or understand social cues. You are a biological machine running on empty, with the cooling fans broken and the fuel lines clogged with waste. At 30 days, you have arrived at the absolute theoretical limit of human existence. While no human has been documented staying awake for 30 days in a controlled environment, the physiological trajectory is clear. The primary cause of death would likely be heart failure or complete nervous system collapse. Your brain's capacity to regulate homeostatic functions, like breathing and heart rate, would simply cease to operate correctly. You aren't just exhausted anymore, you are biologically incompatible with life. But why does this happen? Why do we need to spend a third of our lives doing absolutely nothing? The answer lies in the restoration of our cells. While you sleep, your body repairs tissue. It replenishes energy stores. It synthesizes proteins. It encodes memories from the day into long-term storage. When you stop sleeping, you aren't just pausing your life. You are deleting the very data that makes you who you are. Think about the most sleep-deprived you have ever been. Perhaps it was a long night of studying, a transatlantic flight, or the early weeks of parenthood. Now, multiply that feeling by 1,000. By the end of your 30-day journey, you have stripped away your personality, your intelligence, and your physical health. You have traded your life for a window of time where you were technically awake yet completely unaware. It is important to note that sleep deprivation is a real silent killer. It is linked to obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. It contributes to millions of car accidents every year. We live in a society that often glorifies the hustle, a culture where burning the midnight oil is seen as a badge of honor. But science tells a very different story. The grind is not an achievement, it is a slow dismantling of your own biological architecture. We often view the human brain as a computer. We imagine it can be overclocked. We think we can patch it with caffeine or discipline. But the brain is a biological organ, one that requires a specific rhythm of rest to maintain its structural integrity. When you deny it that rest, you aren't being productive, you are being reckless. The record set by Randy Gardner remains a fascinating, albeit terrifying, glimpse into our limits. But what happened to him afterward serves as a warning. Even after his long recovery, Gardner reported chronic insomnia for the rest of his life. He toyed with the machinery of his own mind, and the machine never functioned quite the same way again. So, what is the lesson here? Sleep is not a luxury. It is not an optional hobby. It is the fundamental foundation of your existence. It is the time when you are rebuilt, when you are refreshed, and when you are cleared of the mental debris of the previous day. If you were to stop sleeping for 30 days, you would be trading the complexity of human consciousness for the static of biological failure. You would be sacrificing your past, your potential, and your present. The next time you find yourself staring at the clock at 3 in the morning, fighting the urge to close your eyes, remember this: the darkness is not your enemy. The exhaustion you feel is your body's way of keeping you alive. In the end, we are all just a series of chemical signals and electrical impulses held together by the need for rest. We are wired to wander through the world, learn, grow, and then return to the silence of the night to reset. To defy that is to defy the very evolution that allowed us to become conscious in the first place. We often wonder what we could achieve if we had more time. We wish for more hours in the day to finish our work, to chase our goals, or to explore our interests. But if you take those extra hours from the bank of your sleep, you aren't adding to your life. You are simply bringing yourself closer to the day where the clock finally runs out. Is the pursuit of a few extra hours worth the cost of your sanity? Is the feeling of being productive worth the degradation of your own brain? You have roughly 80 years of life if you are lucky. That is roughly 26 years spent sleeping. It might seem like a waste, but it is actually the only thing keeping the other 54 years worth living. When you close your eyes tonight, don't think of it as a surrender. Think of it as a necessity. Think of it as the most important work you will do all day, because once you cross the threshold into true chronic sleep deprivation, there is no coming back from the void. You are not just missing a few hours of productivity, you are losing yourself, one sleepless second at a time. What will you choose tonight? Will you fight the fatigue, or will you accept the one thing that truly makes us human?